we're on the way home, and I see a next door app notification of like, what's going on? There's fire trucks. And they said, I think there's a fire in Chapel Creek. And I'm like, oh my God, we live there. And within like a matter of like 30 seconds, it was like a giant flame. And
it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Behind us, 4 houses down. Really close, in other words.
No workers were there. No cars out front. No work has been done for a couple days. But there was a kid with a backpack and glasses on walking through there.
They're rich. They live in $1 million house, but they still lost their precious belongings, and it's covered in water. You find out the house is on fire, and you don't know if it's your house.
And with Colton, he's all asking a million questions. Okay, but what's on fire? How do we know it's on fire? What are we going to do? Is there police there right now? What's the helicopter going to do? How many? I love taking the opportunity to teach them about that whole experience.
Welcome back to Meet the Stewmans. I'm Ryan.
I'm Amy.
Yeah.
I'm eating watermelon Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
I have one left, and then we're good.
So we came home last night. What happened?
Well, the adventure started on the way home.
Okay. Talk to me.
So we had to take Colton to his doctor appointment.
But by we, I was in a different vehicle, so that was you. So by we, you mean you and the kids.
By we, I mean me and my 3 amigos.
Okay. The Migos.
The Migos. We were all loaded up, and we're on the way home, and I see a next door app notification of like, what's going on? There's fire trucks.
Also known as the Karen app.
The Karen app. It's a bona fide great nickname. And so I'm like, wait a sec. And they said, I think there's a fire in Chapel Creek. And I'm like, oh my God, we live there. And so I look at the real Karen message thread, which is like the ladies group me that I'm a part of. I think I've said something on there 3 times, and I'm like, I'm not leaving because I gotta know when there's something goes down, they're gonna be talking about it here. And they did. I knew everything about what was happening. It was great. And I'm like trying to drive at 5 o'clock traffic. I'm like, shoot, what? Hold on. And you're calling me.
What in the name of short hair on a woman's going on in here?
It was aggressive with lots of book club stuff. And so one of the ladies was walking by it was like 3:15 and like 3:20ish is when like they think this fire started.
Okay.
And she said she walked by, and within like a matter of like 30 seconds, it was like a giant flame, and
it was crazy.
It was crazy. And one of them it was the street like that the
street behind us.
The street behind us, but yeah, their house backs up
like
to
literally
ours.
We share a fence line with the houses on that street.
And they said that
so it's behind us, 4 houses down. Just to put it in perspective. And really fucking close, in other words.
And it was a brand new house that they were building that they had framed.
Yes.
They had framed, and our neighbor across the way said that she was out in the back watering. Her like felt heat, didn't hear it, but felt heat, turned around, and she said it was like a 50-foot flame in the sky. She said it was
a picture of it. Was crazy.
Surreal. It was a 2-story house.
And it burnt their fence down.
Burnt their fence down. No. This was the neighbor that was a house that burned. Here's the house directly behind it whose fence was burned. The woman that lives right across from her was the one that turned around and saw the flame and was like, and think about that. So that's directly behind her house. She sees these flames. She was really terrified.
Yeah.
But 3 different ladies on the app said, I thought it was odd when I was driving by. No workers were there. No cars out front. No work has been done for a couple days, but there was a
Sounds
kid
like our ranch house.
With a backpack and glasses on walking through there, and they thought it was really odd. He was in the house that was no longer there now. That was framed.
He would have had to put gas or something on it for it to burn like that, because like that's treated lumber. It doesn't just catch fire with a lighter
and
or a
for
cigarette.
it to be that intense of a flame.
People
too.
Smoke cigarettes on
but
job
when
sites
you
all the
came
time.
home, so afterwards you went to walk through, like check it out, the rubble. You smelt like not quite diesel, but you smelt like some type of accelerant. Like, you know what I mean? Like when a fire is started by that, like there's still a little bit of that smell.
Well, it's labeled as a crime scene now.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And here's the cool thing that I thought last night. There was probably 10, maybe 15 fire trucks there. at least 25 police officer cars.
Unbelievable presence.
You couldn't get in or out of the neighborhood. Amy had to park at the school and walk through the trail to get over there. I had to park about a half a mile up the road and then walk.
And that was so stressful in and of itself, because when you get, like, at the end of the day, when you pick up your kids from school, I had taken them through Chick-fil-A. We had luggage.
Yeah,
I had 3 kids, and you had to walk through by a playground, so they didn't even want to get home. They just wanted to play in the playground. I'm like inundated with Harlan's blanket, Harlan's backpack, my purse, my file from the office, like trying to like corral these kids walking through this parking lot, through the playground to
at
get
least
home.
your house didn't burn down.
Yeah,
it could have been worse. And and so they had the front of the neighborhood blocked off because it's pretty close to the front of the neighborhood. It's about midway through the neighborhood where this happened on the main drag. So they had the main drag, Main Street, blocked off with police officers. And so I drove around, came up the back way, and then they had, you could get up through the back way, but then you had to cross around. Anyway, long story short, I parked a long ways out of the way and walked up because they wouldn't let you anywhere near, because they were still putting flames out, and they wouldn't let you anywhere near the main street. So I had to take some back roads and in my walking back roads through some cul-de-sacs and get over there, and got to the house, and there's cops everywhere. The cops ID'd me. They're like, "Where are you going?" It's like, "I'm going to my house over here." And he's like, "Can you prove you live there?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Here's my ID. I live like literally at this address." And so he's like, "Okay, you're cool." But what I thought was amazing about our neighborhood, and maybe it's because we live in a rich neighborhood, but there were so many people feeding the firemen and giving them water and going and getting ice chest coolers and leaving cases of water on their front porch for the firemen. There was lots of people talking to the fire guys as they were rolling up their hoses. I would see fire guys walking around asking people if they saw anything, and everybody was offering to help or take care of them. It really made me feel good about my neighborhood. And I thought that was really, really, very good. Where we live was out of the way. We live at the last house on the street, and we have no neighbors. And so there's really no community in our part of the neighborhood. We live at like the old quiet house at the end of the street. None of our neighbors know us. But as I was walking, I could see all of this going down, and I thought that was really cool. Even when Asher and I went to go check out the scene last night, when everything had calmed down and been put out, he's like, "What are all these cases of water sitting in front of these houses?" And I was like, "That's them leaving them for the fire guys so that they got their stuff."
I didn't see that. That's so neat.
And well, you didn't go last night. You left this morning. They'd already cleaned it all up. But it was wild. They used the fire hydrant on our street. They were at the ladders, and the trucks were all the way up in the air, which to me, I'm scared of heights. That would have fucked me up. That's a brave job. Really made me want to go give a donation. I probably will, to the fire department for what they've done, because they really showed up over there and handled their business. It was on the news and everything. But let me ask you, so you see on the next door app a house is on fire. You don't know if it's yours. You know it's close by, but you don't know if it's yours. You don't know if the ash from it. This is the thing. This fire was so big that there were ashes everywhere in other people's yard, across the street, and probably next door. They probably have massive amounts of smoke damage that they're going to have to claim insurance on. I don't know if the builder's policy for that house is going to cover the other houses that caught fire because of it, or I don't know how insurance works, or if the homeowners actually have to pay it themselves. The house that was already built that caught fire because of the framed construction home, it's covered in water. They soaked it caught on fire. So it soaked. All their furniture ruined, all their jewelry, all their clothes. These people had to go to a hotel. And you could say, well, they're rich. They live in $1 million house. But they still lost their precious belongings, and it's covered in water. And it doesn't matter if they lived in a trailer home or a mansion.
That's such a disruption
it sucks,
to your life.
And it's a disruption to your life, and having to figure out where to stay and all this other stuff, and insurance and what you did lose. And look, you know what it is. If you own a nice diamond necklace and you can't find it, and the insurance is like, "Oh, we're not paying that because you don't have a receipt." Like, bitch, the receipt burned in the motherfucking fire. Like, insurance companies are cocksuckers, first of all, and they're hard to deal with. And then, they'll fight you tooth and nail, even though you pay for them for years and never fucking use them. And when you use them, like a good neighbor, State Farm fucking robs you. And, let's just be really like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, except for when you need us, then we're nowhere to be found, right? And And maybe insurance people listen to that go, it doesn't work that way. The fuck it don't. Ask anybody who's ever had to make a claim. That's how it works. So it's a major inconvenience. It's a major setback in their family. They may have maybe they had, furniture in the house that their great grandparents passed down to them or something like that, and they've lost those things that they'll never get back, covered in water, covered in fire. It's very tough. But so you find out the house is on fire and you don't know if it's your house. Like, walk me through what goes on in a mom's mind about that situation.
I'm a planner. I immediately go to worst case scenario that we're going to be in a hotel tonight.
I was worried that we might get some smoke damage. I really was.
As a mom, my initial thinking is taking care of my kid. Like, okay, the house, but there's nothing I can do about that. Yep. There's nothing I can do about it right now. So my first thinking was the kids. Okay, just fed them. We stayed at a hotel. I can do that. Screw the uniform tomorrow for school, whatever. I'll figure that out. I can do Target, drive up for any necessities we need and stay in the car and go to the Omni right around the corner and stay there. Like, I immediately went to like food, shelter, clothing for my kids. And I had a plan already done. Like before I even hit like 2 miles down the road, seeing that on the next door, I'm like, okay, got worst case scenario laid out and done. We're great. We're fantastic. And then I was worried about Ace. I was so worried. And this notifications had happened right after Jadira had left the house. So I'm thinking, did she leave a candle burning? Shit. Like, I was instinctually worried that it was our house. I really was. Like, she just left and then there's a house fire. Oh my God. But I mean, there's nothing we could do. I was worried about Ace. Like, and I knew you were getting home.
Yeah, I didn't even think maybe those people had a dog that they might have lost.
I know. Well, the people Ace that were next door apparently were out of town.
Yeah.
And the house that was right next to the house that was new, they were out of town apparently.
Good for them.
Yeah. So
at least they have a bag packed with shit in it.
Yeah. Right. So. Yeah. They had a bag they can keep living out of.
Yeah.
For a week or two.
Don't laugh at that.
Unreal. So. Well, no, it's a positive. I remember when we were doing renovations on our house we lived in before this, and we went on vacation thinking that and then we were going to come home and our house would be done. And our house wasn't done, and we had to live out of the suitcase for another like 2 weeks. So that was the good things. We already had a bag packed, but no, that was my initial planning, and then just keeping a positive attitude for the kids and keeping them having a good day.
Well. You text me and said, check the Ring app. There's people driving down our street like crazy because they've been rerouted. And so I knew that my house wasn't on fire because the Ring app worked, right? And so, but I didn't know how close it was. Could it be coming this way? Because, this is the second home that's burned in the neighborhood since we've been there. There was a huge mansion.
That was a 4-alarm fire.
There was a huge mansion in the back by the creek on the trail. That burned down 4 years ago or so, and they just now moved back into that thing, and it's one of the biggest lots in the neighborhood, and a kid apparently kicked a soccer ball into the fireplace and it caught on fire and burned it down or something like that.
They were
that's what Asher told me. He said that's what you told him. Were you trying to teach him a lesson there?
Not what I told him. Okay. Probably. I wouldn't put it past me.
That's what I thought. I thought Mom's trying to teach you
not
to kick soccer balls into the fire.
I'm all about strategic hypothetical scenarios that teach my child a lesson. Yeah. No, there was a bird's nest up by the flue in their outdoor fireplace that they lit the fire outside. There was the one story is like, the kids were playing and lit the fire on the fireplace outside, and then that bird's nest by the flue caught fire and went over on the house. Surreal.
Yeah, shit. Fucking birds. That's why I shoot them in our backyard.
Oh my gosh.
Amy's like, that's a mama bird building a nest. I'm like, that blackbird, that thing's gonna die. She's like, don't kill it.
I don't like blackbirds. I hate blackbirds. But this was a mama, and she built this giant, very impressive
exactly
nest.
Why we shoot at her. You know what I mean? And those blackbirds are smart. They're very smart. Ravens, I think they're called. They're very freaking giant raven blackbird thing. I've been trying to take it out for months. It's smart. It knows that I'm coming for it. As soon as it sees the air gun, because I got a little BB gun, as soon as it sees the air gun, it's like, no, caca, not today, right?
Oh
like,
my gosh, no.
Quoth the Raven, fuck you, motherfucker.
No.
Anyway.
Well, we live in a terrarium, though. We have raccoons, toads.
We do. Randy and the boys. We got names for all of them.
There's finally, the little bird's nest, the little bird house, the little wooden one is the Texas Star that I put like to the left of the fireplace in that tree. There's finally a bird living in it. It only took 2 years of me just like
Don't forget the doves that build up there every year.
They don't live there anymore.
They don't live there anymore?
No.
Wonder what
Ever
happened.
since one of the eggs fell down and died.
Yeah.
They moved next door. Very sad.
Birds. So for like I said, going back to that, like me, I knew the house wasn't on fire. And, I had a day yesterday where, I had some work stuff going on that was unfortunate and some kind of little bit of dramaticism going on in my life. And I looked at that as
drama? No.
I looked at that as if dramatization. I looked at that as like, okay, I got this bullshit going on at work, but at least my house isn't on fire.
Right.
It could be worse. I look at that as like, God going, it's not so bad. You're not about to lose everything that you've ever worked for, knowing that the good neighbor's not going to fucking be there.
Well, and to think of the people that are building that house, they had a plan.
They've been building that for forever.
They've been building it for a long time, and they had a plan of like when they're moving in there, selling their current. Now their whole plans have changed.
Yep. And it's going to be a crime scene for the next 4 months, which delays them rebuilding on it, because they're going to have to check for arson and see if there was diesel or gas or some kind of,
Well, and like, the book club ladies on that thread, they don't play. They were already on it. They were already the chief of police and the police officer. Like, they're like, she's like, blah, 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 Allison, you need to, hey, this person, like, they were.
It's like don't mess with cats. You remember
2
that?
minutes, and they had it on lock. Like, police report filed this, or this is the description. We got these ring cameras, these ring cameras, everybody's HD cameras on the top of their house. You don't mess. Like, it makes sense. We had somebody that said, like, people aren't going to come rob your. How many people have cameras?
Yeah, and an
in your
employee
neighborhood?
threatened to do some stuff, and one of the guys goes, "They're not coming to your neighborhood, bro. There's so many cameras in HD on all those mansions in your neighborhood. Nobody's committing crimes over there. That's got
we have like
any sense
HD
about them."
Cameras in our house. Anyways.
We do. We have 7 or 8 cameras on our house. We have quite a few. Yeah.
Wait, if you count the Ring doorbell, 9.
Yeah. So you fuck around, find out your own film.
But
Smile.
no, imagine that, a kid with a backpack doing that now. Like, what?
And it could be one of those situations where maybe he didn't even do it. Wrong time, wrong place. I hope if he didn't do it, he doesn't get in trouble for something he did. But if he did do it,
walking like in
but
the
when
house.
I was a kid, I explored. When you were a kid, did you go explore construction homes? I remember one time me and
There's
my
a
Rottweiler.
giant no trespassing bougie sign on it.
They all say that, but I had a Rottweiler named Gabby. And her name was Gabriella Von Diva, and we called her Gabby.
Wow.
And I was probably Jackson's age, 12, 13. And they were building where we used to go fishing was this big field, and they turned it into a development. So me and Gabby were running through one of the houses, looking around, playing around or whatever, and the cops showed up. And first of all, the cops pulled a gun. I was 12 years old. Cops pulled a gun on my dog, rightfully so now that I'm an adult, because it was a Rottweiler, and you never know how they're going to act or whatever. And I'm a white kid. It was an African-American police officer. So he's like, sometimes people, like black people's dogs don't like white people. White people's dogs don't always like black people. That's just because they're not used to that. That's just animals, right? And so the cop's like, hey, call your dog. And I was like, hey, she's cool. She's like as friendly as a box of kittens, bro. It's going to be good. And he's like, you can't come in these houses. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I just thought, until this thing was moved in, I thought it was a playground. You know what I mean?
Oh, my gosh.
And so, but anyway, so it could have been just a kid checking things out. But then he could have burned it down, too. Either way, justice will get served if that's
it ignited
needed.
on fire within minutes of him walking away. So
one time when I was a kid,
1 + 1 = 2.
I was probably same era, and we had lit a board on fire in the middle of a field, and shit got a little out of control. You know what I mean? And we didn't have any bad intentions, but shit got a little out of control, and we took off running from it as it got out of control, and it burnt down a lot of the field, and the fire department had to come. And luckily, we didn't have HD cameras everywhere back then when I was a kid, but shit happens.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'm not taking up for the guy. I'm just saying. Now, back to the story. Watching the way that they controlled the fire and the way that they did everything was, like I said, was a really good reminder to me that we got heroes out there that are looking out for us, because there's nothing, any of our neighbors' water hoses or any of that would not have stopped that flame. I mean, it was 10-foot high flames. And thank God for the fire department. Thank God for the police keeping everybody secure and safe there. And, I've been talking to police over the last few years more than I have probably ever in my life, just as a business owner and donating to the sheriff out there at the ranch. Because, Saturday we had a stolen car parked in front of our house at the ranch, and I had to call the sheriff and give him my gate code and give them the opportunity and the right and permission to patrol our ranch whenever they need to get out there and make sure everything's okay. And, so, I've been talking, and then yesterday talking to 2 or 3 police officers as I walk back and forth, asking them questions and seeing what was going on and stuff, which probably got really annoying for the cops because everybody's got questions. What's going on? So what happened here? Do you guys know anything? It's like, they're not, if they're investigating a crime, they're not going to say. If they don't know for sure what happened, they're not going to say anything. I mean, we've all seen the captain of the police get up there on TV and go, well, we're still sorting through the details of the case right now, but we are looking into a few suspects. They're not going to give you the rundown of exactly what's going on, but the Karens will. And but like I said, coming through and dealing with some of the crap that I had to deal with yesterday, and then coming home and being like, it could be worse. It's not my house. These poor neighbors. I'm glad they weren't home.
Your house. Yeah.
Glad that it was an abandoned house and people that weren't home, so they got that going for them. But really, it's just a good reminder that. Man, life can even be perfect. Maybe those people are on vacation enjoying their time in Cabo, and now they're going to come home to a burned house. And, man, life can be going amazing one moment, and then the next moment it just be completely derailed. And that's why you got to love on your kids. That's why you got to love your loved ones. That's why you got to check on people. And you got to, because, man, life can just change in an instant. A car wreck, a house fire. And it was just a good reminder yesterday. It's like, hey, bro, you going through some shit, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, no, for real. And it was so, what I loved too was taking that as an opportunity to teach the kids and talk to them about that. You know what I mean? There's going to be so many things that happen in your life that are unexpected. It's always fascinating to see how each of them react to whatever's going on. And with Colton, he's all asking a million questions. Okay, but what's on fire? How do we know it's on fire? What are we going to do? Is there police there right now? What's the helicopter going to do? How? He was
yeah, there were helicopters up there with the news and everything.
It. Oh, which, by the way, Harlan calls them aerocopters. Yeah. Aerocopters, because it's in the air. The helicopters, adorable. It was the cutest thing ever. But it was really, I loved taking the opportunity to teach them about that whole experience.
Yeah.
Teaching them about that mayhem of what happens, and nobody planned for that. What do we do? Okay, we got to plan, we got to protect, and we got to stay positive. The
triple P. I never lived in a neighborhood that a house is burned down in until the one that I've never had a fire or anything, but in this neighborhood we've had 2. 3 houses total, but two big fires. And I didn't see the big house. These houses were 0 lot line. There's one street in our whole neighborhood that has maybe 4 0 lot lines. They squeezed them in, smaller lots. And so this was a 0 lot line, the last construction site in our neighborhood. And 0 lot line caught the house, obviously, that it shares the lot line with on fire. The one in the back was bigger than our house. It's a fucking giant house, and it caught fire. And it burned the whole fucking thing down. They tore it down to the foundation. And I mean, it caught so much fire that they tore it down to the foundation. One of the funny thing about the whole thing yesterday is that, I'm recording it on Instagram, because why not do anything if you're not going to do it for the gram? And I got this dog, guys, his name's Ace, okay? He's what you call a mini hippo, and if you look one up online, they don't look anything like him. He's the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm not a big dog guy. I didn't want this dog. I don't want another dog. I'm not.
He's like a mini Saint Bernard.
Dogs are cool, right? But I'm not like Frisello, where I'm like, you got to pet all the dogs. I'm just like, take them or leave them. But my kids get this dog, and he knows that I don't necessarily. I love him, but because he's a family member, right? You know what I mean? He knows that he's not man's best friend in when it comes to me being the man. So I go out Sunday night to dinner, steakhouse, and I thought for the first time in my life, the first time in his life, I'll get some extra steak. I didn't eat the whole thing, and I said, I'll just take a to-go box and take these 5 pieces of fat and steak, and I'll take them home to my dog. They give me a little bitty nice to-go box at Del Frisco's, great place to eat. Give me a little nice box, and I come home, and I hold it out for Ace, and he looks at me, he's like, is this poison? I'm like, dude, just eat the steak. And he's like, I don't know. Is there a pill in there? Is it what are you gonna? Am I gonna wake up? My
never
nuts
give
are gonna
me
be missing
steak.
again, right? Like. So he's very skeptical. Like most dogs, you show up steak, they'll bite your damn hand off for it. This guy, he's like, I don't know about this, right? Like he's very skeptical with me and I've never spanked this dog. I've never kicked him, never hit him, never done nothing but be nice to him. But he is skeptical as hell. So anyway, I get home yesterday. Fire's going on. I'm trying to record it for the gram, and I go in the backyard and I flip over this flower pot and I try to stand on top of it and grab the fence, and I fell the fuck over. I mean, I fell, landed 6 inches away from a pile of dog shit, and
left out
I
that
just
part
like
earlier.
had dirt all over me, and I fucking busted my ass. Now,
Oh,
guys,
my
I
gosh.
haven't fallen from anything in years. I thought about life call help. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, my gosh.
I was tripping, and I
Love
look
alert.
over, and Ace is looking at me like, yeah, you better hope there wasn't nothing in that steak, motherfucker, right? Like. That's what I got to deal with. No love, not even from the canine,
Oh, he loves you. He has a funny way of showing it.
But-
He loves you, but he doesn't trust you.
Yeah, you don't trust me. That's for damn sure. I'm like, come here, buddy. And he's like, for what?
He doesn't trust me either. He's like, she's going to put medicine in my ears again.
Yeah, he is
This
he is
lady.
he is the cutest dog I have ever seen in my life. And I didn't know he was going to be that cute when I got him. The damn dog dealership or whatever you call those places. I go there to pet the dogs, right?
Not as much
like
as a car.
my son won a
Checks
bet
out.
with me. I bet my son that he couldn't do something in school. He ends up doing it. I'm thinking I'm gonna
He
get him.
didn't just do it. He crushed the goal. And we're like, this is what motivates
Let's
you.
get a goldfish.
Okay.
And he's like, I want a dog. And I'm like, ah, fuck. So I go to this. Now, mind you, we live in a very rich city, probably the richest city, one of the top 3 richest cities in Texas. So I should have went to the hood, but I went to the fucking dog dealership in the rich city, right? Bad idea. And I'm thinking, man, where I come from, you pay $50 for a dog, right? So I'm thinking, okay, $500, maybe $1,500 for a nice dog. And Amy's holding this dog. She's like, "This is the one. He's amazing." And I'm
I
like,
wanted
"Cool."
2 actually.
And
I
I'm
found
like,
another one that
I'm
was
like,
really cute. I'm like, he needs a friend.
how much for the dog? And the
gonna buy
lady's
2.
like, "Come over here." And I knew it was going to
Yeah,
be a
didn't
bad
tell
story.
her. Didn't tell him. Yeah.
I knew it was going to be a bad story.
Didn't tell us yet.
She pulls me around the corner while my wife's over there drooling over this dog, and she goes, "He's $9,600. He's what?" Amy, no, you have to put that dog up. But I love him.
They had already
fuck.
put me over in like a little cuddle room.
Oh, dude, such a fucking con, bro. Like,
I'm over here
Petland
snuggling
is
him,
such a con,
like,
bro.
holding him like,
And,
oh, we're
and
gonna
she's
be
like,
best
"Oh, he's gonna,
friends."
yeah, we're gonna be best." And I'm like, I look over, and my wife's in love with this dog. And I look,
Great sales tactic.
there's very few
Great.
things outside of a
Good for
Rolex
them.
car or house I've ever paid $9,600 for in my life. Okay, I have a one-of-one Mr. E painting in here.
Birthing a
and,
baby.
And that thing was like 10 grand.
That was like
And when I bought that thing, I was like, I cannot believe I will never
Yeah.
financially recover from this fucking artwork.
You
right?
know,
Like,
it costs as much to have a child birthed.
I'm talking.
It's about
And
a
so
dog,
anyway, I'm talking. And so
know.
so the lady goes $9,600, and then she looks at me like this. This is how they fucked me up. She goes, "Well, we can finance them in monthly payments if you need." I'm like, I'm not taking out a mortgage on a dog. Okay? No way, right? And I was like, just here's my Amex, pay for it. And she goes, "Well, there's tax, so it's gonna be like $10,200." And I'm like, fucking dogs are taxed? I didn't know you had tax on a dog,
Yeah.
right? And so then I start doing math. I'm like, okay, so if this dog keeps alive for the next 8 years and he brings me $3 of happiness a day for the next 8 years, then, so I got to figure out how to get $3 a day in happiness out of this dog. And now he
So you
won't
buy
even
it a
eat
steak.
And he won't even eat steak. You know what I mean? He won't even eat the steak. I gave him some more steak this morning. He's like, "I don't know." And I'm like,
guy.
"Bro, it's steak. Eat the last
Trying to
2
trick me
pieces."
again.
He's like skeptical as hell, but he's
Oh, my
super
gosh.
smart. And he understands the assignment. Like, once I started shooting squirrels in the backyard with the air gun, by the way, then he's like, he'll go in the backyard, and he knows if I grab that gun, he'll start looking for them and point them out for me. Like, he's sharp as a tack, man.
He's
But
amazing.
loves the rolling cow shit on the ranch. We kind of dealing with. So I would have missed him if the fire would have fucked him up.
I was so worried. And plus I'm thinking, like, is he outside? Is it raining ash on him? Like, oh my gosh, I was so worried.
Yeah,
house is
so-
replaceable, but that little doggy is not.
That's true. It's a life. Life is not replaceable. So, not for less than $9,600 plus tax. But I don't think they make them as cute as him. Like I look at mini hippos online and I look in the forums that I'm in because I was going to try to breed them. But that was the other thing. I was like, I could just get them to have puppies. Turns out there's some genetics where they can't have puppies either.
Yeah.
So you have to actually take a Shar Pei and a Cocker Spaniel. You can't breed the second generation together. It's a whole fucking deal, man. I'm a hustler. I'm always like, how can I make my money back from my money? And then I can't do it on this dog. So I'm like, okay, $3 a day in happiness, 8 years.
I don't understand. Like he just... man or dog puppy, girl puppy, more puppies.
They can have puppies, but the puppies have a chance of being genetically having issues. It's maybe stupid, hip dysplasia. They get parvo, things of that nature run through there. So I read all about it because I'm like, should we risk it for the biscuit? Should we risk it for the milk bone? But I decided not to do it, and we end up cutting his balls off. Now he's a little fluffy.
I wanted to be a doggy grandma.
But so key lesson in all of this is it could be worse. You know, it's a pretty scary day for the family yesterday.
It was really nice to be able to teach that positive moment with them, though, like in terms of having perspective of what really matters and being grateful. And I made the kids say a prayer in the car.
And I think it brought the neighborhood closer together. There were a lot of people gathered talking. Me and the kids walked and picked up my truck. Then we walked the other direction, exactly same amount the other direction to pick up your car. And we got to talk and they asked questions and stuff like that. So, I walk through the neighborhood and I don't look like the rest of my neighbors. I don't look like anybody in the neighborhood because I'm covered in tattoos and
hence why you got like carded.
That's why
at
the cops
street.
were like, "You got ID?" Like, fuck, I live here. I've lived here for 6 years, the longest place I've ever lived in my entire life.
You saw your Instagram stories. You're wearing like the Cattle Ridge Ranch black tee with black Ray-Bans, and you look like ripped from Yellowstone.
And cowboy,
walking.
And I'm wearing cowboy boots yesterday. My neighbors ain't cowboys. You know what I mean? They don't look like me. I look like the guy that might have started the fire. And if there was a suspect at large, it probably was the description of me.
Got him. There he is.
And but it was nice to see the neighbors all come out, and it really gave us something to be thankful for because, the situations we go through as adults and humans, we think, oh, poor me, but it could always be worse. And I was having a poor me moment before the wife called and said, hey, check the ring out, man. There's houses on fire and multiple houses on fire in our neighborhood.
I originally looked at
really
it like, okay, if the
perspective.
house is on fire, there will be clues from the cameras. Yep. So I started pulling up the cameras like, okay, we're fine. And then I saw nobody drives by our house. Nobody, because it's off in the corner and there's no reason to go through there. And so all of a sudden there's 5 cars and I'm like, what is this parade? They probably blocked off the street. Crazy.
Nobody drives through our street.
No.
The end of the world, I'm going to be like the guy from Civil War. We're American. What kind of American?
Yeah, you can't come by my house.
You're not coming by my house. So, all right, final words, final thoughts.
Final words. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to be alive and have a nice house that's not burned down.
Yep, I agree.
And loving all the lessons we're teaching our kids daily, just when we don't even plan on it. Like teaching moment all the time.
The kids got to be a little shook. They're like, stolen car at the ranch.
I
house
swear
next to us on fire.
Their teacher probably thinks they're lying.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
I'm like, no, really, that happened. Okay.
Daily adventures in Closerland. So all right, make sure you follow the podcast, subscribe, like, thumbs up, all that shit. Leave comments. We're checking it out. Share it. Thank you guys for sharing it.
If you want to send a box of Sour Patch Kids, I'm accepting donations.
Put it in the hands of people who need to hear our entertaining stories of being parents and doing life together. And also, on Spotify, the Ryan Stewman podcast, we have Standing on Business, Rewire, Hardcore Closer podcast, and Meet the Stewman. So we're loading you guys up with a ton of content, whether you like it or not. And we'll catch you next week. Later.
Woo!